Testing, 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 testing.
To the sun that shines, to the moon that follows, to the night that covers, to the day when love to the day when I swear upon the evening air, when earth is drowning slowly, I'll carry you 1,000 miles and won't let you be lonely.
I'll ignite the fire. I'll take a stand and
Alright, it's Mark, and it's time to start our show. Now, tonight's show is sponsored by Puppet Putty again. Just another update on Puppet Putty because people are asking me a lot about it. We should have some more in within a week or so in our store. Don is making another batch as I speak, so it's just a matter of Don getting more made. So let me get rid of this screen. Put on our camera. Okay, I think we're zoomed in a bit much, so let me try to zoom out a bit. And let's see, am I zoomed out a lot or not? I think so. Alright, so let's zoom out. Alright, that's better. So anyway, let me close this now. And alright. So anyway, welcome to the show. I see Janet and Mooncraft and Whit Monroe. You guys are here. Thanks for stopping by. I do want to show you guys some of the Puppet Putty that Don sent me. This is a clay that we sell, but this is not something that's in our stores yet. We've got some ultra soft matte, and we've also got this, which is really cool. And I may actually use this on our current project, this green. I'm going to be using the red, because I've got some original Puppet Putty red from Don a while back. And where is it? I don't know where I put the red at. It's around here someplace. But the new stuff is really cool. It's got the ability to glow under a black light, and so I've got a purple laser, and if I shine it on the paper, it's not super bright, but if I put it on the clay, it gets really vivid. It's especially noticeable when you turn the lights out, but this kind of stuff here is really awesome because you can take it and put it under a black light, and it will glow, and you can do things like you know, boiling potions and all kinds of stuff like that for stop motion. The orange color that's going to be like this, you could use for lava, you could use for fire, you could use it for you know, different kind of lights that look like they're practical lights. It's just really cool. The only thing about this is, you know, there's different consistencies. Right now, the neon colors are, they're not in the soft version, I don't think. I think it's just in the plain old Puppet Putty consistency. It's also got a bit of a shine to it, which is very indicative of Puppet Putty because there's, I guess, oils in there which make it look a little bit waxy compared to like Van Eyck clay. So we got Van Eyck clay here, and this one here, I don't know if you can tell. I don't know if it's really reflecting the light like I can see. Like you can kind of see it like this in the webcam, but it's more of a waxy look to it. Whereas Van Eyck is a little bit more mute, a little bit more matte. And so Don also sent me this, which is the ultra soft Puppet Putty. And he makes this by adding more oil to the mixture, but you can just literally, you know, take your finger and you know, pinch off a piece really easily. Compared to this, which is regular Puppet Putty, it takes a lot more force. So I think this is great for smaller kids or for people that have weaker hands. You know, this is a really good formula, the ultra soft. Actually, Janet, this would be good for you because I know you said your hands are not super strong. But it's a really cool kind of clay. So just wanted to share that with you guys, share it because Don he sends me these for free, and I find them exciting. It's such an awesome clay to use for animation, and I really believe in it. So I just want to show you guys what he's kind of working on. I don't know when we're going to get some of this stuff in our store, so it's kind of an exclusive first. Not too many people know about it yet. But yeah, this is really good stuff. And like I said, I'm probably going to use this green perhaps in our current film project. I might use it for the leaves on the apples. So I'm going to use the red puppet putty for the apple itself, and then this for the green parts. And I just kind of like the way it, it's a really nice color. It's super vivid. It's neon, but I think for the apples that I'm going to be making in the film, since they're kind of central to the why the film is being made, because the different characters are fighting over the apples. I want these to stand out. So that is the plan, at least for now. So I might make a review video in the future with that. But for tonight, so of course last week, what we did, last 2 weeks, we interviewed the director for the new Wolvinton documentary type feature story film. Not really sure what he wanted to call it, if it's documentary or not, but we interviewed the director, and then we also did our 5-week challenges. So it's been a couple of weeks since we worked on this. So just to kind of recap, what we did the last time was we made these replacement lower parts for the mother character, and you can see. Let me show you guys the faces, if I can get them out of here. So we got all the replacement faces done. We've also got our different left-right views. We've got some left-right replacements, just a few of them. Perhaps we need to make more of these. Trying to think. Yeah, we probably have to, won't we? So I've got, let's see, only 2 of them, yeah. So these are going to be sort of surprised and neutral. So do I need to make all of these kind of replacements for here? Yeah, that's for the 2 left and right sides. Yeah, I might have to review my storyboards and see how many I need, but I'm probably going to have to make quite a few of these, like smiles and things like that. So maybe in the future, maybe next week we'll work on that. For now, I want to finish the bodies, and for the most part, we could stick to just what we have right now. Put these back, because we've got the ability to sort of make gestures with these. We could do like a little squash and stretch with these lower body parts. So if she wants to react, we can kind of make her go down, go back up. We can also do the walk sequence, which is if we use all of these. I think it was on maybe 2s. I can't remember what looked best, but I think it was for every 2 frames. We replace these and do a cycle. But the front doesn't have anything in terms of that ability, and so we need to do something with this so that when she's standing there, she has the ability to also kind of emote with her body. I don't want her to be really rigid and static all the time. So I think I might do at least like a squash and stretch with this. Now the way I can do that is I'm going to take just this body and I'm going to stick it on the paper. I'm going to set the other body parts to the side, and I'm going to trace around this with a pencil. I don't know if my desk is extra dirty today or what. There's like a lot of cat hairs on here. Anyway, I'm going to trace around this nice and close. Yeah, I think my room might be getting kind of dusty. I need to clean in here. Dust is kind of the enemy of making clay puppets. And if you're not a clean freak and you don't like to clean a lot, you're going to have puppets that have little things sticking out of them and little fuzz balls and dust bunnies and all. You don't really want that. Okay. So here's the outline, and here's the body. So now I can do one of 2 things here. I could do what I did with the other bodies, and I can cut off the lower part and then make replacement lower body parts so that you can squash and stretch primarily with the bottom. But being that this is kind of a round shape, I think that if I do just the lower body, there's not a lot there to... it looks strange, I think. Like if I do a squash with just this part and the top stays kind of rigid, you're not going to get a very nice expression out of that, I guess, you know, is what I'm trying to say. So I think I'm gonna come down from this outline about this much, and then to the sides the same. And I want the sides to be farthest out about here, about halfway down the body, and I'm just gonna kind of continue here and connect these to make the shape that I want. And then I'm gonna kind of come around, and the bottom part can stay the same. So my thinking here is, I'm not really sure if you guys can see what I was talking about, but this was the original outline. Let me just draw it a bit darker. So maybe you can, let's see, can you see that? Okay, you should be able to see that. And so here's the top of the original body as well. So I'm coming down the same distance I'm going out here. So I think that should look pretty good. And I'm trying to keep that even. Not sneeze. Okay, sorry about that. I had to mute my microphone for a minute. So let's see. So Mooncraft's you're on your boyfriend's phone. That's cool. And yeah, Puppet Putty is pretty interesting stuff. I love it, but I have so much Van Aken, and I have Avalon clay as well. I have a whole bunch of that, so I don't want to just try to replace it. I want to, you know, make use of what I have. But if you don't have any clay, I would definitely buy as much as I could. And so Janet says, you saw, have I seen the new horror game Evil Within 2? I haven't seen it. Hey, Hoser Lou. Okay, catch you later, Mooncraft. Have a good night. Thanks for stopping in for a bit. Alright. So, what I've got here is I've got some the same purple color, and I'm going to roll some of this out in my pasta roller to be the same approximate thickness as this. And I'll do that off to the side. Yeah, there's a lot of sculpting involved in making 2D characters like this. Okay, so I believe this is the thickness. It's rolled out, folded over, and yep, that seems about right, I guess. So what I'll do is I'm going to put the clay underneath what I've drawn, and I'm going to see if I can... Okay, so this is not going to be wide enough, and it's going to be tapering off to the sides, so I'm going to squeeze the sides and stretch them out a bit. And I don't have to worry about it being thicker in the center, because actually that's what I want. So if you guys could, I don't know if you can see it here, but there's a bit of so the sides become thinner. Alright, so the thickness or the width has to be what I've drawn. And that should allow me to alright. So I'm gonna take my tool and I'm gonna start scribing on top of the paper that new shape, the new lines like this. And this is how you can transfer 2D drawings to your 3D, well, it's not really 3D, but your clay. For your, you know, it's more like a relief, which is technically 3D, but it's I think think one of my friends, Webster Colcord, always calls it 2.5D because it's not really full 3D. You can't spin it around like a regular puppet, but it's not completely 2D either. Alright, so the shape was transferred. You can probably see a faint line on there around here. And so what I'll do is I'll cut that with my knife. So I recently found some new razor blades, some sharp ones, but I've never tried the brand before. The brand that I've always seen in stores is the X-Acto knife brand, which is this one. So I found this stuff. It's XL, double honed blades. So when they say double honed, I guess that's, you know, gotta be pretty sharp. Sometimes sharp is good, sometimes it's bad. Generally what I do is, if I have these kind of knives, I will keep one for a long time and use it a lot until it's kind of dull. And I'll use that on certain things, like if I'm trimming plastic pieces on model kits, or if I'm trying to do something kind of quick where it doesn't have to be super accurate. Like, for example, if I 3D print things now, what I do is, if there's any kind of additional flashing and whatnot on the edges of, like, the Bendy's armature kits that I make, I will just trim it with a dull knife. And the reason being is that sometimes a sharp knife cuts so easily that there's not a lot of resistance, and it's easier to cut yourself. So there's two trains of thought on that. Some people say it's safer to have a sharper blade because you don't have to press as hard. But you don't have to press hard when you cut yourself because it's so sharp, you know? So I kind of like a balance between, I like there to be some give to it, but not too much give, if that makes any sense. Oops. Alright, so this is the new shape, as you can see here. Now I can't test this. I don't have my camera set up to see how this will look between the two. But I've got this shape, and I'm going to just sort of come in here, and where that fold over was, there's a crease line about halfway through, because this is two layers of clay stacked on one another, so I want to kind of smooth this all out a bit. So Jad says, a good game, but one of the villains is crazy. An artist who kills for art, and why some artists are become crazy. Why? Yeah, you know, in history, throughout history, most artists, a lot of them do, like or Amadeus, and Picasso. I think he chopped his ear off. Yeah, they say that a lot of art is derived from mental illness. Just what a lot of psychologists will tell you. That some artists are kind of crazy. I think it has to do with being sensitive, more sensitive than other people, to what you see, what you hear. Like, if you see an artist that's an extrovert, like he's out there, and I'm not talking about musicians per se, but like painters. Let's say someone is a painter and they're really successful. You'll see that their main skill is not so much it's not so much that they're an artist. it is their ability to mingle with other people that have lots of money. And they present their art, and the rich people buy their art. But it's more of a social thing, you know. So a lot of those artists are not so great. Like, if you go to, have you ever seen, like, there's a painting out there, it's just a blue canvas. That's all it is a blue canvas. And I think it was about like 10 by 10 feet or 8 by 8 feet or something like that. I think it sold for millions of dollars, right? It's in an auction house. People know the name of the artist. It becomes a thing where the artist is popular, and the name it's like Nike shoes. You know, Nike shoes are not any better than other shoes. They really aren't. But you know, the name is on there, so people want to buy it for the name, and that's really why people buy it, not because of the quality. Same with art. A lot of artists that are really great are not well known because they just don't mingle with people that buy their art, and they're always poor, you know, because they don't have the social skills, and that's because most artists in general are introverted. And that probably makes some artists mad that I, you know, say that, but it's kind of true. You know, like I watched a guy that owned a gallery in, I think, the Philippines, an art gallery. He was an Australian guy, and he went to the Philippines, and he's, you know, trying to help artists out in the Philippines, because there's a lot of good artists in the Philippines, but again, you know, they're not very well known. A lot of them are introverted. If you go to the Philippines, you'll notice that the guys there, the men, a lot of them, I'm not trying to generalize, but a lot of them are very shy. And the females can be extremely shy. More so than in the West, you know, than, you know, in America, probably in Australia and Germany, places like that, UK. It's totally different socially, and one of the things that he said that he has to sort of pound into everybody's mind is you have to be able to get out there and talk with the people that will buy your work. And he said that a lot of artists will I just put some mineral oil in here for you, if you guys are wondering what I'm doing. I'm going to use this mineral oil to smooth out the clay, but I want to put it on the paper towel first. But he was saying that he will have like a gallery, and he'll put the work in there, and he'll have like a meet and greet with the artist, and like a come and see the artist, come and see the art, and and mingle basically. And he said that a lot of the artists will sit with the other artists in a corner and not talk with the potential buyers of their paintings and stuff. And he said that is why they fail. It's because they're introverted, and like I say, a lot of artists are. And the ones that make the most noise are generally the most successful. Not always, it's not always like that at all, but at least a lot of it is, though. I mean, imagine, for example, you're an artist and you don't have a website showing your art, and nobody sees it, and the only people that see it are maybe on your street, some of your friends, close friends, and your parents, grandparents, that kind of thing. Maybe they know that you're an artist, but you don't even have a blog. It just kind of makes sense. The more places you have your art, either stop motion or as a painter or a documentary filmmaker, you got to get out there and you have to talk to people and mingle with them. Stop motion is not so universal. So that's what most of what I kind of recommend stop motion artists do, is just to make like a blog at least. get a Facebook page, that kind of thing. At least get out there and communicate somehow with people. It's really important. I know we have a small group of friends here in where I live in Springfield, Missouri, and they are also my wife is from the Philippines, so she has a lot of Filipino friends, and one of them has a daughter that's really great artistically. She's only about maybe, I think she's 16 or 17, and so she has all this, like, a lot of potential. But she doesn't have like an art station page. She doesn't have a blog, anything like that. And so nobody will ever see her work. But it's really, really good. I mean, there's just countless people like that. So let's see here. So I've got the squashed version here. I think that should be pretty good. Let's see. Smooth this out a bit. Okay, so we got a squash, a little bit of a squash. Now I can do another squash here, further out, and maybe one stretch. I think that would be good enough for this, for the front view. I can make her walk if I have at least two little squashes. Kind of make her bob around a bit, or if she gets excited, I could make her kind of go down first and then pop up and kind of give a happy expression. I think I might do that. Okay. So, hey, I am Toys. Welcome back. No, she's not a nurse. I know that a lot of Filipino girls do get nursing positions in hospitals, but she works in a hospital and she does environmental services, they call it. Basically, she cleans, or she's in charge of a cleaning crew. She's actually in charge of everybody and has to deal with a lot of crazy drama and stuff. So she deals more with drama than she actually cleans, which is sad to say, because when you have a lot of people and they don't do what they're told, it becomes like a political job more than anything else. It's more political, because the policy is king in a hospital. Policy is like everything. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see here. I'm going to do another level of squash. So it's going to be a little bit wider and a little bit shorter. So I'm going to move this aside. And I'm going to roll out some clay again. And I probably can't do more than 2 more bodies because I don't have a huge amount of clay left. Pinch off the clay. Janet says, I sometimes feel that I'm different from other people and I don't like it, but I don't know if I'm an artist. Well, the way to know if you're an artist is if it's something like a feeling where you want to create, like you kind of live to create, like you just want to build something or sculpt something or paint something or draw something. Like if you really like it, or if you're inspired by it too, that's another thing. If you're inspired, if you see it and you kind of think, wow, I wish I could do that, or I wish I had that program so I could paint, the way they paint, or if you see, like a painting kit in a craft store and your imagination starts to kind of go crazy. Like you think, I can do this, I can do that, I could paint scenery, or I could, sculpt something I want to sculpt. Because you're a girl, so maybe you want to sculpt like little. I know on Facebook, a lot of girls like to sculpt like babies and uh, unicorns and fairies and stuff, like little women with butterfly wings. That seems to be really popular with girls. So I mean, if you didn't feel inspired to do that, I would say you're definitely an artist. Or if you see, if you're watching me do this and you think it would be cool to make animation, maybe you're an animator. So I Am Toy says, I knew your wife was Filipina. You know a lot about the Philippines. I'm Filipino. Oh, cool. Awesome. Our dentist is even a Filipino. We saw him today. He's gonna go back to the Philippines to Laguna Beach, somewhere around Laguna Beach in the Philippines. He told me. He's got a brother that lives up or out there. That's pretty cool. So are you you're Filipino American or pure Filipino or? And I Am Toy says, do I do stop motion full time or do I have another job? Well, my main job is stopmotionstore.com is one of them, and then also sculpting for people. So I didn't actually sculpt this 3D printed piece here, but I'm actually going to be, it's not really in focus, but I'm making a mannequin head for somebody. So I make a lot of these like mannequin heads for people. So after I do that one, that's Beyonce. Somebody else had sculpted her. I'm just going to basically clean her up and put her on a mannequin body head and cast it. But I have a project that I'm going to be working on. It's to make 5 Batman characters from the 1960s for a museum. And they're going to be putting the actual clothing that the actors and actresses wore in the 1960s Batman TV show. So it's pretty neat. I don't really know, like I never expected that I'd do something like that, but people ask me on the internet because they see my sculpting and they go, oh, can you sculpt this? And it's just something that has kind of caught on. Like people keep asking me to make more of these things. So it's steady work. I just had a new customer today ask me to make a Judy Garland head. So it's kind of lucky in a way. But that's my, that in the stopmotionstore.com. I mean, I kind of do the stopmotionstore.com just to help stop motion animators because it's what I grew up loving to do and always wanted to do. And when I started out, I never had somebody to help me, and so I try to help others, make things convenient for them and stuff. Alright, so here's the shape of this body. But I think the stopmotionstore.com, it does pretty well. Like I'm offering the puppet putty and like I said, the armature kits and everything. But it's taking a back seat more and more to the sculpting part of my business, which is really starting to grow. But I don't think I'll ever stop doing, selling on the stopmotionstore.com, even if it does really well, because I mean, there's so many cool people that do stop motion and want to do stop motion, and I really love it. So. Well, that's cool. So now Janet says, I have a lot of ideas for movies and I love drawing. Well, there you go. Yep. And Janet, also, like one of the things about being an artist is sometimes you won't want to sculpt or draw or make films, you'll kind of go through phases where you're just like, do I really want to do that? But if you're an artist, what always happens is after a while you start to get, like, your imagination will start to kick in and you'll be like, ooh, I think I really want to do this or do that, you know, draw this or... So even if you don't feel that way now, I mean, if you're an artist, it's like, that always kind of comes back. I know with me, like, if I weren't constantly having to sculpt for other people, I'd be making all kinds of stuff. I know that my dad wants me to make him a sculpture too, but I don't really have time with my other stuff. It's really hard to find the time. It's like if you do it as a business. Like, I know a lot of stop motion animators kind of have this too, where you work in a studio and it's like you're kind of putting all your energy into that one film, or, you know, maybe you're a puppet maker, so you're constantly making puppets, and after a while, you know, you desire to work for others less, and then your ideas you want to really do bad. And if you're in between jobs, like when I worked at Gentleman Films, you know, in between working for Gentleman Films and I think Webster Colcord, you know, I was trying to make my own films again. And so I think I made what was it? The Plum Crazies, episode 1. It was like a, you know, the evil Toad character, and it was done before there was. I mean, I didn't have any way to take photos, really. Not, you know, at least not very nice ones. I had a Animation Toolworks lunchbox and a VHS recorder, and I used that as my way of transferring video to a computer through a special device, and the quality was just the worst. You know, like my early films look like garbage compared to just, you know, like a simple crappy web camera today. You know, the worst web cameras today are better than the best cameras of the past. If you can believe that, you know, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think. I mean, we have phones on our cameras on our phones, and we have cameras on our laptops and everything, which are nice quality, and on our iPads and everything else has like a really high quality camera. But, and it's just like a pin-sized lens on there, right? And back in like the, you know, even the 90s, some of those cameras were large or clunky, or you couldn't really do like single frame capturing on there and stuff, and everything that was done in stop motion digitally back then was an experiment, and you never knew what you were going to kind of get out of it, because film at the time in the 90s, you know, film was kind of going out of trend. Digital was kind of a new thing, so this whole transition was kind of painful for animators. Gentleman Films resorted to, because they did a lot of cell animation, instead of using cameras, they would use a scanner, something equivalent to like a Canon or HP that you would get today, you know, like for about $30 in a Best Buy or someplace. Janet says, what do you think about some modern artists who don't do art but only shock, like make laugh from religions? Yeah, there's a lot of people like that. There's a guy in America, he came from Great Britain. His name is Milo Yiannopoulos, and he's like a alt-right, you know, in a way, it's, those kind of people are both good and bad, because a lot of them aren't really very honest about things, but they make people kind of look at themselves differently, and look at certain topics differently, and in a way that's kind of needed. You know, it's needed in society so that people challenge their ideas and beliefs, and you know, like it's not a bad thing. Not really a bad thing, believe it or not. I don't think. It's just when they start to take things too far and it turns into hate more than like it doesn't, like it's good to what's the word I'm looking for? It's good to challenge people's ideas, but if you do it in a way that isn't constructive, you know, where it's just hurting people, that's when it's kind of crazy. You know, that's when it's, because you can take things too far either way. You can be too passive or too aggressive in things. Alright, so here's what we've got. Alright. What time is it? 8:41, okay. So one of the things I'm doing here is I've got some lines scribed, and I want to make sure that the lines are pretty much the same on all of these. So let me do this, kind of line it up, these on top of each other, and so I want to make these lines a little bit lower as it's kind of squashing down. So I want to make it look like the belly part of her is going downwards and kind of coming out. So if I want that kind of an effect, I want to bring the line down below where the other is. So I'm going to kind of go like this. And also going to bring it forward a bit in the center, like this. Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of sculpting to do here for these characters. The time that you spend sculpting characters this way on clay on glass characters is less time you had to spend in animation. You know, because the animation part is just a matter of swapping out your replacements. So it makes the animation part so easy. And what's awesome about this, and I think you know, is you can just like reuse these over and over again. So any future films that I make with these characters, I can just reuse these as well. And if they become like super dirty or anything like that, I can make molds of them, recast them in clean clay, because sometimes the clay can change colors over time. Okay, so I'm gonna do one stretch of this as well. So I'm gonna put these all aside. And so maybe after I do all this next week, what we can do is we can test all this and see how it looks in terms of animation. So I'm going to come in. Slightly inward and a little bit higher. So the way that I measure the height is just to make these all kind of even and space them out evenly. So we've got, you know, our different replacements. We got, you know, 1, 2, 3, you know, 4 separate layers of height there, as well as width. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and all equidistant. Now that may work, it may not work. But we'll know when we test it, the animation with our capture program next week. The animation part's actually the more fun thing to do on these live shows, I think. But a lot of this for me is trial and error. Like I kind of have it in my head how I want it to look. I mean, this might be too exaggerated. It's always possible. But we'll just have to find out. So Dad says, some time ago I hear about one man selling his poop in a tin can as art, or other man painting bread into black color. Yeah. Some artists do things that are weird, you know, and it, like I say, it comes down to, you can do anything and call it art, and it's not really the art that that has any kind of meaning. It's the meaning comes from the person that looks at it. And if you can make it seem as though there's meaning and there's not, you know, it's like fooling somebody. You know, you're kind of fooling people. It's like, oh, look, it's poop in a can. I'm gonna buy that. It's kind of like the stock market, you know, or at least, you know, in America, I think probably anywhere in the world, it's all psychological based. I mean, people get scared and they say, oh, this company's not doing well. So everybody gets scared and then they start, you know, getting out of the company or whatever. And so what a lot of these people, these scammers will do that is they'll send out marketing strategies for stocks, all based on fear, you know, like, oh, or greed. So they'll say you can get this stock really cheap right now and it's gonna explode. All the trends say that this business is gonna do great. It's a new technology company and they're going to save the world, you know, and then everybody buys their stocks, and when they do that, that person that sent out all this spam email to get people to buy the stock inflates it really high based on psychology, and then what they do is after the stock is really overly inflated, they take their stocks and they cash them, you know. And a lot of artists do the kind of similar things. They'll get people excited about something really dumb and call it art. They'll have a gallery. They'll make some kind of a spectacle. And like I've seen, some artists, they'll take like paint and they'll, put it in their mouth and spit it on a canvas and do even worse things. But they'll do stuff like that, and then they'll sell their art for thousands and thousands of dollars, and you're like, why would anybody do that? And it has more to do with their ability to manipulate people than anything. It has nothing to do with the quality or the time it takes to make it or anything like that. And the more eccentric the artist is, the better. I mean, there's one person someday, like what's that guy's name? Sasha something or other, who made that Borat film where he pretends to be from another country and he goes to America and he's like, I'm from Kazakhstan and I just want to talk to you about your country and do an interview, and he acts really crazy. Hold on a sec. Okay. But a lot of artists do that. They will sort of pretend that there's something they're not. And it makes the bad artists kind of I mean, the good artist. It makes a sad situation where, you know, they're unknown people that are really awesome and should be known, but it's the really bad ones that are more famous. I mean, that's kind of what happened with cell animation. You know, they had Hanna-Barbera did the limited cell animation to make it cheap, and they had a big production studio, but they were trying to do things quicker, cheaper, with less resources. So they stopped animating stuff the way they used to, which would have been, you know, one frame at a time. What they would do is they would take like the body of Fred Flintstone and just draw the body, and then just animate like the mouth, or the mouth and the eyes. And if they did animation, it was very limited, so they would have very simple movements, you know. And the really good artists that could do animation, they were kind of cast out, you know, or they were told to do things in a really junky way, just for the sake of making more money. You know, making animations quicker, things like that. Nowadays, you don't really see too many cell animators that are really good, unless they're, you know, they've worked in Disney or someplace. Okay, let's move this. So again, I'm just taking my, I have mineral oil on here, and I'm just going to smooth it out. And so next week, we should be able to finish this up. All these bodies, I think, are enough for this character. And there's also a chance that what we could do is I think there's the other mother character, let's see, which is here. Yeah, I can't really, I mean, I could make molds of all of these shapes if they look good, and cast it in this red clay, and then just add the boobs, you know, add different ornamentation. Like I was saying with Hanna-Barbera, you know, you try to make things cheaper. But in my case, you know, I had to do similar things as well, like with this film, because if I try to make it too crazy detailed, I'll never get it done. So I want these to be really simple as well. But given the chance, if I had my own studio and more time to work on it and more money, I would make these look really as good as I could. Okay, let's see. Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of controversy in art for sure. Well, I mean, it's kind of like Peter Montgomery and Ron Cole. You know, I haven't seen Ron in our live shows in forever. I think he's kind of hibernating from the internet or something. He doesn't really like to use the internet anymore. But he's a really good artist, and some of his work you would think would be well received, but he's almost unknown. You know, you don't hear about his name in Hollywood or anything like that so much. But Ron is a great artist, and I really wish the really good artists would be more well known. You know, I wish they were more successful so that we could have more stop motion films that are of more of a variety. I mean, when's the last time you saw a Ray Harryhausen like animated stop motion feature? You know, Ron was the last one to do that, to try and, you know, keep keep things alive in terms of the Dynamation stuff that he was working on. And I think they wanted to call it Dynamation for a while, but they couldn't with the Sinbad film he made. But the animation was pretty darn awesome. Okay, so what time is it? It's 8:55. All right, so I guess we can go over what we made here now. So we got one stretch, got the neutral, and 2 squashes. So this should look pretty good. All right. Well, anyways, that does conclude our show for tonight. Next week, like I say, we will animate these and see how they look, and we'll add the aprons and make sure everything is going to be what we want. All right. Well, see you guys next time.